Zack Snyder confirms the Justice League Snyder Cut. Break out your Ed Hardy t-shirts and pull your extended cuts of BVS because Zack Snyder's been making headlines this week, and just like his Batman, he's taken no prisoners. At a Watchmen screening Q&A, Snyder made comic book fans everywhere clutch their pearls when he had some controversial remarks about Batman, and while we will get into that in just a moment, the big reveal that came from the event was confirmation of something that all Snyderites have been begging for since the Justice League film was taken over by Joss Whedon, the mythical, long-rumored Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Booyah.
In a video posted to Twitter, you can hear Snyder say, "All I'll tell you is the Snyder Cut is done. I have a lot of cuts. I would love to release it, but that's up to them." It is worth noting that the audio is pretty terrible, and it is possible that he could be talking about one of his other films, but we think it's safe to assume the quote is about JL, and the them Snyder is referencing is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So, if true, from Zack Snyder himself, the Snyder Cut exists and it's up to WB to release it. And if it does exist, rumors are swirling that it's over 3.5 hours long. So that being said, would we actually want to see the Snyder Cut of Justice League, especially considering his recent comments about the glorification of superhero murder? In case you somehow missed it, here are Snyder's quotes. "Someone says to me, Ben Affleck's Batman killed a guy, and I'm like, really? Wake the up." Snyder continued to then fan the flames, adding, "It's a cool point of view to be like, my heroes are still innocent, my heroes didn't lie to America, my heroes didn't embezzle money from their corporations, my heroes didn't commit any atrocities. That's cool, but you're living in a dream world." And ever since Snyder lit up the internet with these comments, outside of his core passionate fan base, critics, fans, and entertainers alike have jumped to point out specifically why they think he was wrong and misguided about superheroes. For example, Entertainment Weekly's Christian Holub sums up the biggest issue with Snyder's interpretations of DC's heroes and points out why his comments are so off base. They demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of the characters and their values. The point is, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have Superman kill people, but there have to be corresponding consequences, or else you start to drift away from the character's storied history and iconography. Holub adds, a big reason his films didn't mesh with viewers as a whole is that they embrace shocking violence without reckoning with the toll on the characters perpetrating it. It's one thing to replicate iconic drawings or lines from comic book history, and another thing to deploy them in a way that makes sense. Nerdist's own Kyle Anderson also weighed in. "As if I didn't already greatly dislike Zack Snyder, Batman isn't a murderer, and it's his insistence he won't become one that's literally the cornerstone of the character. It's what makes his task Sisyphean in a city like Gotham. Wake the up, Zack." And finally, Stephen Colbert even got in on the action, mocking Snyder.
Zack? These are beloved children's characters. Aquaman sells opiates and the Flash is a human trafficker. Walk it off.
Now, all kidding aside, it's unlikely we will ever see the Snyder Cut of Justice League since the DCEU has done a complete 180, turning away from Snyder's vision. Looking at Aquaman and Wonder Woman as examples, the DC films have embraced brightness, humor, and heart rather than the trademark violence and grittiness that kicked the universe off way back in Man of Steel. And it's worked out for the better. Wonder Woman and Aquaman have been resounding successes, and the upcoming Shazam looks more in line with the tone of the more recent releases than the gray, dark Snyder days of old. In any case, we're really hoping that this Snyder Cut update means that we can stop reporting on Snyder Cut updates for good, and that DC and WB are ready to put the story to rest.
Yeah.
But what do you folks think? Are you still holding out hope that WB will release the Snyder Cut? Are you liking the new direction of the DC Cinematic Universe? And when will we get the Henry Cavill mustache cut of Justice League? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and mash that little bell to get notified every time we go live with the show or drop a new video. And if you're looking for something a little lighter than neck snaps, take a look at our latest episode of Nerdist News Edition, where we sit down with the cast of Dumbo, who are talking about how they got their first gigs. Check it out.